Can the Eagles' running game get revamped back up by the new offensive system? And why is the O-line so excited for that switch? Plus, we begin counting down the top 25 most important Eagles. Looking at rookie second-rounder Eli Stowers. What kind of impact is he going to make as a tight end this season? And birthday wishes for the head coach, Nick Sirianni. We project just how much more success he can have as the Eagles head coach. And with that, we welcome you here to Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL. Alongside Barrett Brooks, I'm Amy Fiddle, and the Eagles are off until the end of July when training camp commences. So, B, take me back to your playing days. What was this time of year like for you?
Well, to me, it was time for me to get in really, really good shape. I mean, you already got to run. At that time, I'd already ran the conditioning test, so I had to run when I came back. But I wanted to be in optimal shape going into camp to make sure that we have those long drives in practice, 2-a-days and all that type of stuff. I wanted to make sure that I was good to go, didn't have to worry about being tired or anything else. And, instead of going into camp, being out of shape. So it was imperative that I was in shape and that was good to go. That way I could just learn the plays and go running, hit the ground running. All
right, good stuff. Let's hit the ground running on this show as we check out our three-point stance presented by Toyota. Stance number one, the running game will be revitalized. Last week we heard from both Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens on how things are going to be different. Let's take a listen.
I think with this offense, we'll be able, like I said, we'll be able to stretch and really work, our zone game and get the defense running and work things off of that. So, I'm really excited to what it can do. For tackles, I think it'll open up a lot in our game.
I mean, I'm excited. It's been fun, attacking it. It's just a little bit different philosophies on, how you can block things and where your help is and, just how, a running back may attack something compared to what we used to. But it's kind of just, it's wiping everything clean and forgetting what you used to do. And, it's a whole new system and philosophy.
All right, Barrett, Saquon Barkley put together an all-time season, as we know, back in 2024, but came back down to earth last year. How much better do you think the ground game's going to be with Sean Mannion in charge?
First of all, it's all new to them, but it's different. It's track blocking. It's not you have to blow your guy out the ball. Your block isn't imperative to, the end-all, cure-all. If you don't get that block, there's a chance this play doesn't work. Well, with track blocking, you may have somebody covering your back when you're trying to overreach somebody. And that's what makes it so good. It's more forgiving for the offensive line, number one. And number two, it lets the offense run through a running back who can now read it in front of him. That's going to be the biggest thing. He can set blocks up. But if he tacks the outside hip of that offensive lineman and he goes out there, the next that linebacker start running, he can cut it back inside because these guys are displacing all these defensive linemen. So there'll be holes, natural holes, just by guys running. Their ability to get these guys to widen. That's the biggest thing from an offense changing. Now they're trying to learn it right now. And I watched them in camp, how they're doing drills and trying to get the gist of what the coach is saying. They're used to seeing, see him, hit him. Yeah. No, it's a lot different. If he goes outside in his track, he goes outside, and as he's going outside, that tackle goes inside. His main reaction is like, I got to get back on him. Well, with this offense, he doesn't go back on him. He goes on him, kind of stabs him a little bit, gives him a little push for the guy coming behind him, and goes up to the next level or goes up to, cover the guard or the tackles guy. It really depends on where these guys are. So once they get out there and displace them and get them reading, now the defensive linemen are basically taking themselves out the play or overrunning the play or going backside and not getting to their gap. They're wrong. There's a way to make them wrong every single way. So I think this is going to be great for Saquon going in and being able to attack it. He's going to hit that outside, or if he slow plays it, gets in the inside and takes the backside, all these gaps will be open. The linebacker, if they overcommit, it's going to go backside. If they undercommit, it's going to get to the outside, and you get the outside of that defensive lineman. Now I got a chance to get to the safety. All this stuff makes these guys on the defensive side of the ball wrong at some point. Everybody can't be in their gap and be displaced like that and think that you're not going to have a cutback or stay in front side. I know it seems like, I'm talking in Spanish or something, I'm talking different because, but it's all about getting guys to move and cutting back or getting guys not to move and staying front side. And they're picking, when the defensive line picks, it's always wrong, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and then you make them pay for it when they are
Got
wrong.
to make them pay for it, and that'll be the biggest thing, him understanding that, and once they start getting the gist of it, when pads on, like right now they're just going through with no pads. So it's altogether different when you don't have any pads on. You know, it's like, okay, I kind of get it. They're going to go through some bumps and bruises during camp because they're going to have pads on. When they get them pads on, they start popping. Then they'll see exactly how this thing's going to unfold for them. Then they're going to be like, oh, okay, all right. I like this. I like this. He can hit front side and back side. You've always got a block. You always got to think as a offensive lineman that you're always either front side and back side, and you could be the same thing in, every single play. If you're backside, you end up being the front side just by the nature of how the defense plays it. So, I mean, it's great. Read or reach front side, cut off backside. That's all you're thinking.
All right. Well, Sean Mannion's got his work cut out for him, but stance number 2 is that he is ready for this role. Last week, our Dave Zangaro spoke with offensive line coach Chris Cooper, who was in Minnesota when Mannion was still a backup QB. He said of the new OC, quote, Sean had his own playbook while he was a backup quarterback in Minnesota. He had a true binder full of plays that he was kind of deciding whether his offense was going to be a part of this or not. And he's involved, and he's evolved from there. So, yeah, I figured he had an inkling that maybe it might be something he wants to do. Now we're seeing it here. That's pretty impressive, baby.
Right.
He sounds like he's been thinking about running his own offense for a while.
And that's what you can have. You can do that when you're a backup quarterback because you're learning the offense. You got to know it better than the starter when you're the backup because you got to let him know what's happening out on the field and actually know the offense better than him so you can tell him how he needs to adjust to it. Backup quarterbacks are almost like they're coaches, when you get that type of experience. But I know a lot of coaches, a lot of backup quarterbacks become coaches like that. Doug Peterson.
Yep.
Because you know the ins and outs of the offense, it gives you a greater comprehension on what you want to do if you do become a coach. And some guys are just born to coach, and it's usually the coach's sons that are born to coach. I'm sure Mannion's pops was a coach. Well, he did say he was a coach. Mm-hmm. He's a coach. You look at, our head coach, Nick Sirianni, his pops was a coach. And it just, goes down the line of great coaches coaching great sons, who then their great sons become great coaches, in hindsight, because they love the game. The game follows them home when they were youngsters. The game follows them home when they're, when they're in the NFL or when they're, whatever level they get to, because they want to be great at what they're doing. I love the fact that, he's a backup quarterback and he had all those times to sit back and see what he likes and what he doesn't like, what system works for him, what system will work for, if he does become a coach later on. It gives you a time to really open up and put your little twist on things. Whew. It's going to be pretty good. I'm looking forward to see what Mannion's going to do. Not saying he's going to be great because it's going to take him a while to get these guys going. But eventually, if they get the gist of what he wants, it could be a really good offense. Because I told you, once I played in that offense, I understand what they're trying to do. And it's just an easier way to do simpler things in an offense that, can open up. Just run blocking, play action, those things alone we hadn't seen much here in Philadelphia at a high level. Not last year, put it like that.
Yeah, not last year.
Yeah,
right.
Not last year. Yeah.
Stance number 3, it's going to be battle to make the roster at the wide receiver position. Even with the trade of A.J. Brown, the Eagles still have a very talented, packed wide receiver room. We broke it down. Devontae Smith, Mekhi Lemon, Dontavian Wicks. Those are locks.
Yep.
Then the guys on the bubble, most likely Hollywood Brown, Darius Cooper, Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey, Elijah Moore. So, B, who do you see making the squad?
Man, it depends on if they're going to have six wide receivers on the roster or 5 wide receivers on the roster. You got different, whatever you want, we got that flavor for you. You got Johnny Wilson, 6'6", 230 pounds. If he can run and come back healthy, he could be a definite force in the red zone. He can be a guy that they can go to. Imagine him, 6'6" frame, going out there and highballing. I saw a little bit in camp this last week where he showed that ability to go out there. They didn't, complete him, but I see it in the game plan what they want. Then you look at a guy like Darius Cooper. Darius Cooper is like, not to say he's like an AJ-esque type of player, but he has the size of an AJ type of player, and we'll see what his speed is. He had a little, get back and have some shoulder problems or whatever, or something like that with his arm. But I think he came back and showed he's still a quality receiver. Then we get to Hollywood Brown. We don't know what he's going to be. I know he can take the top off defense. He still looks cat quick. Very, very quick. Can he still go out there, play in and play out, and take the top off? Is he that much of a viable weapon that they consider him that? Can he get the quarterback to be, all right, comfortable with how he plays? That's the biggest thing, But if you want a guy that can go out there and just run space speed, Hollywood Brown's your guy. So, whatever flavor you want. And then Elijah Moore, I don't see much right now from Elijah, but, we'll see. But Britton Covey, It's going to be tough for him. You know, as a returner, he's going to be good. But as a receiver, I don't know if they can work him in with the talent that we have on the roster right now.
We got a lot of bodies in that room. Back here in Birds Huddle, it's time to kick off our countdown of the top 25 most important Eagles. Once again, the roster is loaded with talent, so putting this list together was pretty tough. Let's start things off, though, with number 25 on that list, and it's the rookie tight end, Eli Stowers. Barrett, what do you make of his inclusion on the list after what we saw in spring practices?
Well, you know what? I didn't see much in spring practices, and I just think he's just a rookie that, you know, quarterbacks don't know him yet. He doesn't know the offense too well yet, but he has a couple things that in his favor. He's one of the best athletes on the field, bar none. You know, runs a 4.5 40. He has a 45-inch vertical. He is, 6'3", 240 pounds, so he is a guy that can go out there and make a difference once he gets the gist of how to play in the NFL, the speed of the NFL, and just the playbook itself. But what makes him also a weapon for this team is he's a former quarterback. And being a former quarterback, he can see things and read things that a quarterback might be looking at, which will help him in his route run, help him decipher what the defense is trying to do to him. And that's the biggest thing. If he can go out there and be that target, understanding what the defense is doing, like him sitting down in a zone concept where he knows if he kept running just a little bit farther, he knows the quarterback, he didn't want you to go out there. He wants you to sit down. He knows that type of thing. He can read, what's going on out there. If he's going to run past the linebacker and you'll show his speed because he knows the quarterback needs a little separation. He can do those type of things. And all in all, he could be a red zone threat. I mean, he's 6'3". But he has a 45-inch vertical. I can see him going out there and being a pretty good player, if he, gets the gist of being an NFL player.
Yeah, it's obviously going to take a little bit of time with that. He was the second-round pick. He won the Mackey Award last season. That is given to the nation's top tight end. Stowers, heavily recruited, as you mentioned, as a college quarterback, made the move to tight end and really flourished. So how can his game transition to the NFL? How confident are you also that he's the heir apparent to Dallas Goedert?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think at this point he could say he's the heir apparent. I know he's a viable threat in the passing game. But, you got to be able to run block and pass block when you're a tight end in the NFL. And Dallas Goedert, has made his hay doing that. You got to be able to blow guys off the ball. You can't continue just to be a passing concept type of player. They've got plenty of those. They got receivers for that. So he's going to have to learn how to block. We'll see when pads come on if he can be that guy. But, like I said, with him being a former quarterback, he can definitely see things and see disguises the defense are trying to do to try to bracket guys and, go to the open place, go to the open part of the field and help, the quarterback get those reads and kind of decipher those so it doesn't look as muddy for QB number one. So I can see him being that type of player. I'm looking forward to seeing that, but he's got a lot of work to do. He has a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, back when the Eagles drafted Stowers, this is what Howie Roseman told him on the phone.
Howie Roseman from the Eagles. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Tell you what, we got a pretty good history of selecting tight ends in the second round. Can you name any of them?
Yeah, you got the one you got right there. Right
the one we got right here. He's a heck of a player. We got Zach Ertz in the second round. How about we pick you right here and add you to that legacy?
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for real.
Yeah, we're gonna pick you right here. You're an Eagle. Congratulations.
So Stowers does join Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz as second-round tight ends that were drafted by Howie Roseman. Two previous picks integral in parts of Super Bowl teams. Didn't have huge impacts, though, in their rookie seasons that came a little bit later. So how might his production, Stowers' production, kind of stack up? And what numbers do you think we might see in his rookie year?
Sitting back and just, looking things and all things being equal, they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end, 3 tight end looks, just for the nature of how you run this offense with Sean Mannion. But, how can he make an impact in this game? You look at it. I think if you're going to put 12 person in, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, you're usually going to lose Dallas Goedert and Munt. Johnny Munt is a blocking tight end. He's a really good blocking tight end. And most run plays, he will be in there. But if you want a passing guy, then you put in Dallas Goedert and Stowers. He can stretch the field a little more, but you can't be, one of those teams that, all right, then, when Stowers is in, it's going to be a pass play. Or when Munn's in, it's going to be a run play. He's still got to be versatile. So that's what I'm saying. He still has to learn the blocking schemes. He's got to learn how to block. He's got to know what to do. And I've been around some great tight ends that were blockers. Great tight ends are blockers. So he's going to have to learn how to do those type of things. And if he can do that, He could be successful. He could be the heir apparent to Dallas Goedert. You know, he can take over the reins, but it's gonna take a little work. But he's a big enough athlete to do it. He's a great athlete.